Hi everybody, Papa Kenny from Papa Kenny's Workshop. New project. I know it's been a while. Actually, I did another project. Just haven't uploaded a video. I haven't uploaded any videos in a while, even though I got 3 of them ready to be edited, not and counting this one, to be edited and uploaded on YouTube. I just haven't had the time to do it. But anywho, we're working on a dump body for a Kubota side-by-side UTV. The 4x4 diesel. I got the sides and the back panel here. This is the bottom of the dump body. I cut a piece of diamond plate, 1/4 inch, and like I said, this is the floor. It's upside down. We're going to do all the bracing and everything that goes with it. So it's 47 3/4 by 59 1/4. I got these measurements written down. Here's the chassis with this thing's going to lay on, pivot point, piston. All right. I already started drilling holes, so my idea is I'm going to weld the angle iron all the way around the outside edge, okay, and be able to drill the holes. As you can see, these sides, they're pretty rough, and I got some work to do on them. These are pretty rotted. I'm going to have to do something with these. But these sides bolt down through the floor, so I'm going to end up drilling out. I already started drilling out the diamond plate. I'll get my angle iron in place, flip it over, make my marks, and start drilling out the angle iron. Then we'll start working on the support and bracing for the dumping mechanism and the hinge over here. So, battery's a little bit low. While my batteries are charging on the GoPro, I'm going to start cutting my steel and laying it out. As you see, I got a bunch of steel on the ground over here. Square tubing, angle iron, all 1/8 inch stuff. So, let me charge up the batteries. While that's happening, I'll cut everything and I'll show you a little bit better how I'm going to lay it out. Alright, how's that sound? Before I charge the batteries, I got this thing flipped over. It's all squared up underneath. Nice. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. You all know what diamond plate looks like. It's actually the headboard's up there. There's a side there and a side there. No holes for the tailgate, obviously. I don't have the tailgate. It's going to drop that off to me. I'm going to drill these holes out. And then I'm going to bolt the angle iron down around the outside perimeter. Except for over here. I'll leave that alone. This way here I got a nice tight fit and I won't get out of square. And I'll be able to weld that in once it's I flip it back over. Alright. Like I said, I'm going to go charge the batteries. When I get this bolted down, all drilled out, bolted where I need it. By that time the battery should be charged and on with the project. Alright, we'll see you guys in a few seconds.
1 hour later.
Alright everybody, got my batteries charged up on the camera, and the GoPro, and the microphone, but I'm looking at my memory card, probably run on a memory card. Anyhow, I want, right off from the rip, I want to mention that I don't proclaim to be a professional welder, fabricator, any of that stuff. I just want to get it out of the way. You may not do this project the way I am, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So, just clear that up now, because I know I'll probably get hammered in the comments about how I'm doing things. But my project is how I'm doing it. Alright, so, I was originally going to bolt the A-frame, the angle iron around the outside edge, and I did do that. But because this cement floor is not level, and yes, I'm working in a tight space right here, normally if any other bigger jobs, my brother-in-law lives up the road, and I would have asked him to use his garage. He's got a big, huge garage up there with a lift. Anyhow, I'm in tight quarters here, so it is what it is. Alright, so I did bolt the angle iron around the outside edge, but it kept rolling in, and it was throwing off my measurements, and it just wasn't square. So I took it all apart, started over again. As you can see, I did 2 center lines, okay? I got a notebook around here somewhere where I took measurements. I don't have it here, so it doesn't really help you guys unless you know what I'm doing. So it's all squared, and actually I ran a string along all the edges because this floor dips like this to make sure that I'm not pulling the floor up and down, because later on I come back and weld all this if I didn't, and the floor is going to be buckled. And it's really hard to straighten that out afterwards. So I got it cleaned up. I'm going to set up the welder. I'm going to tack these in a little bit. I'm not going to weld them all in. Probably tack welds every 6 inches or so. I'm going to go with gasless today. Flux core, oval 30 wire. I believe that's on the reel. Whatever's on my reel. Be close enough. And once I get this all welded in, we'll start doing the inside framing. I got the old bracket sheet off the old one right there. And got to figure out where all that stuff goes. But we'll work that stuff as we go. I'm going to check and double check measurements. So you'll see me with the tape measure out probably a couple different times or whatever. But all right, let me get the welder set up. Make sure the battery's charged in my helmet. And we'll get after it. All right, so I'm going to jump around a little bit so I don't have these flips. So basically, I'm going to do welds wherever the thing sides bolt down to. And I'm going to try not to sit on it to bend it. That's the other important thing. Nice. Yes, I did grind it and cleaned it around the edges. Just give me a little bit better place, a little bit more to weld to. Clean the surface. If I get in the way, oh well, you'll see me later. Sounds like Rice Krispies, doesn't it? Snap, crackle, and pop. How's that cornflake? Alright, so we got some tacks on there. I wasn't going to do the tailgate. I'm going to take some measurements, just see where we're at, and go from there. I don't want to find out this thing's moving all over the place on me. If I can find my tape measure. Here we go. It shouldn't go anywhere where the vice grips are. Yep. 26. 26. Alright, how about over here? We are, yep, 22 and 5/8. We're good. Yeah, I got my drawings right here. Like I said, I ain't gonna help you guys out with anything. But we gotta put some main runners in here that sit down on the chassis. And that's gonna be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches square tubing. And then we'll lay out for the hinges up top. Well, the hinges for the tailgate. And then the mount for the hydraulic piston, which will be over here somewhere. And I'm going to lay that out as I go. I got rough measurements, the important stuff, the other stuff, the structural stuff to tie it all in. I'm going to do that my own way. All right, I'm going to grab a coffee, and by that time, we'll be laying in the structures for the main runners where it sits down on the chassis. All right, let me go get a coffee. Alright, I got the two main runners set in place where I want them. Now, when this comes down, this should land on the frame. 12 inches on center from the outside edge, and I confirm that. And let's check to make sure everything's square before we go ahead and do that, right? Never hurts to double check. We're good there. We're good there. We're excellent good there. And over here. Good. Now, I like to take the big square too and just double check it, doesn't hurt. Yep, nice and tight. And over here. We're good. Looks like some weather's moving in. It's about, I don't know, 45 out. So we're working half in and half out of the workshop. As a matter of fact, I had a dead battery in rattle can. Let's see if rattle can starts. Everybody loves to hear the rattle can run, right? Oh, there we go. Nice cold start. It's about 2 weeks since I started it. You still sound good. A lot of leaves in the back. I'm gonna get a cover for it. Let's check the air-fuel ratio. Oh, we're good. Wipe it. That light on the dash blinking. That's my seatbelt light. Right on about 1,000 RPM. Yep. Cold start on rattle can. Alright, let's get back to the project. Yeah, she had a dead battery, so charged it up. Alright, so I'm going to weld in the main runners. Then we're going to start laying out for our hinges. That this thing rotates on, and a bracket for where the hydraulic piston lands. Then we'll come back and fill in our bracing. I know it's kind of hard. I don't have the unit here in front of me, so. But Papa Kenny's got faith in his work. Where's my helmet? Safety first. Now, even if I'm a little bit off, I can add to the sides of these. I'll make sure I take some extra stuff off to me, because this is up in situ with this unit. I want to make sure that's down nice and tight before I do that. I gotta get a couple more of these vice grips. These are nice. Nice long reach. Nice to have all these vice grips, but I'll tell you, they're getting away when you're trying to weld. How's it looking, guys, so far? I know you guys have no clue what I'm doing, but trust me. Trust in the system. Now, chances, what are the chances that there's a block underneath there and I can't reach under there? Of course. Of course that was going to happen, right? Now I got some more welding in the corners to do after, but I'll come along. You guys don't want to sit here and see me welding all day, right? You see that all the time. Another reason why I'm using the flux course, if I'd be using a gas right now, the wind and the cold and the warm, it just makes it a whole lot harder to weld everything, in my opinion. You guys see me all right over there? I think you should be able to see me. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing, right? Not that it matters, but what do you think of this new microphone? Sound okay? I don't hear nothing popping and clapping yet, so that's a good thing. People may ask why I'm not welding it all the way across. Because some body panels bolt on this and help it hold together too. That's another reason why I'm not welding all the way around. It's got a rounded edge on this. I don't know why well, it is square stock, but it's got a rounded edge on it, so it looks like there's a gap under there, but there isn't. You guys might hear or see a little puppy coming around the corner. That'll be Cooper. I think he's like around 5 months old now. Little critter, weighs 32 pounds. I call him Cooper the criminal, because he likes to grab everything and run. Or Cooper the klepto. But he should be out here with my wife in a little bit. And more than likely I'll be over welding and he's going to jump on my back. So you guys got a kick out of that. Alright, so let's start laying out for the bracketry. Like I said, the hinges and a pivot point for the hydraulic cylinder. Alright guys, I hope you can understand that. Just looked at my blueprints over there, my notes. It is 2.5 inches between here, is what I got written down. So, cut that in half. It's 1.25 inches on each side. That's where I set the bracket. Now, I got this one tacked in here. We're going to weld that one in up there. And that's going to be our support right there once it's all welded for the hydraulic cylinder. Then, we're just going to weld some more angle iron and over there like that. Now, I thought about using another piece of tubing up top there, but I don't have enough. And what I do recall, the other one had this. So, I gotta cut another one. Let me get this all tacked up a little bit better here, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I got the bracket for the hydraulic piston that bolts to welded in. Everything else is just tacked in. The supports, I'm gonna have to put some more supports on the outside. Alright, so got these brackets here. This is for the hinge on the machine that goes through and it'll be able to lift up the dump body. So what I think I'm going to do with these is I'm close on the measurement. I think I'm off maybe 1/8 of an inch or something, but I think I'm just going to tack these ears on, and when we bring this back up to him in Situate, I'm pretty sure he's going to weld it. If not, I'll talk to him and I'll bring my welder up there, and if I can make any adjustments on them ears for the pivot place, I can do it there. For now, I'm just going to tack them in. Then we're going to work on putting in some supports along this side. Weld everything up permanently. And drill out a couple of holes on here because there's rubber bumpers that go on each side of this main thing where I guess it hits the frame on the machine. Alright, so like I said, I'm just going to tack these on for now. And once I get up there, I'll make adjustments there.
A few moments later.
Alright, so got everything welded in. Like I said from the beginning, I don't know how square the my cut was on the diamond plate. So I made all my measurements off of center. In other words, I measured from side to side on each end, made my marks and connected the dots. I did the same thing this way. So I based everything off of center. And off of my notes that I have here, like I told you guys earlier, that doesn't really make any sense to you, but you know, I got pictures and notes that I took. So the only thing I might be off a little bit on, and actually I've made a big mistake, and I didn't film all of this, and the battery was going dead, so I didn't get a chance to film all of this. But anywho, like I said, I got everything based off center, so this is all good. This right here is what should end up on the machine. It's definitely going to end up on the machine, where the chassis is or whatever it lands on. These are the rubber bumpers that I self-tapped in off the old part. These brackets here, I believe he sent them over here for the fenders, the mount for the fenders. So that's all based on everything off center. The only issue I may have, and I only got these tacked in. Now, I made a huge mistake, but we'll come back to that. Not a huge mistake, a big mistake, but I'm glad I caught it. Alright, so here's the hinge point right here. I only got these kind of tacked in place for now. Once he picks this up, I'll take it right up there when he goes to put it on the machine, because I may have to move them no more than 1/4 of an inch. I don't know how much plays in the piston. It could line up. I wasn't 100% sure on my measurements, so I'm either 1/4 of an inch off or I'm dead on. So those are basically only tacked in. I'll bring my welder up there in case, and my wheel of death with me, in case I have to move them. So these are tacked in, these are tacked in, this support bracket's tacked in. Once I know it fits 100%, then I'll weld it all up. The hydraulic piston part, I'm pretty confident. So here's the mistake I made, alright? So I drilled out the 3 sides. Well, I drilled out the side for the tailgate, so basically I had it backwards, but I'll explain it when I flip it over. So if you flip this upside down, this is actually the headboard towards the front, towards the back of the machine. That will be the tailgate up that end. I had it vice versa. I thought the thing lifted the other way, but it didn't. So it was just a matter of me redrilling the holes on this side, or actually welding them holes up over there that I drilled. I'm going to finish welding them up and drilling new holes on this back side. Alright, so I'm going to spot prime these welds and whatnot. We'll flip it over, and I'll show you what I did on the side panels. Alright, so it's a little blustery over here today. Leaves are blowing in and out, but let me prime this up and flip it over. Like I said, I'll show you what I did on the sides. Alright, so on all 3 sides, 2 sides, now the headboard there, this flange that's welded to everything, as you can see, it was all rotted. Okay? Well, everywhere you look. Even in the end, it was a piece of it. So what I did is I got some 1x1 flat stock. And as you can see it here, and I'll show you what I did. I welded it in. I welded it in all along. I didn't weld the complete thing because this thing would be like the Atlantic Ocean. So I did some welds in between the bolt holes. And then I took some of this stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Seam sealer. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. Alright, so it's a seam, it's a U-Pol product. They're not a sponsor of mine, nothing. It's just a product I like. They call it Fantastic Seam Sealer. It's a UPO 955. Not only does it seal, it's a bond. It does a permanent seal and bonds permanently. So I took some of that and I ran a bead down through this whole corner on all 3 sides. I'm also going to do the same thing along this lip here. I don't know if you can see that gap. I'm going to seam seal all of that. on the two sides, on the bottom, probably where all the shit caught in the corners over here, was all rotted out. As you can see, I cut these off, and I cut a couple new pieces, and I'll show you this better once it's up. And I welded them on. To get it straight, I took some of this stuff here that slides in perfectly, and you can see it right there. So that kept me straight. This is all the way, goes all the way through. I'll show you better once it's all up and down, up when I get it on the other side. So let me finish seam sealing this, and then we'll bolt it all up in place. You can see the error where I welded the holes up that I had drilled, thinking that this was the backboard, but it's not. The backboard's over there, tailgate's on this side. So, big mistake avoided. I also cut out the rotted sections in the corner and welded in new pieces over there. I don't know how well you can see that, but that came out pretty good on both sides. And I seam sealed it all around that. But I'll show you that a lot better once I get this thing all bolted up. Let's see how good it fits. Alright, this seam sealing takes a bit, especially when it's cold. So once I'm done seam sealing, we'll get back onto, I'll bring you guys back in and we'll put this thing back together.
1 hour later.
Okay, I got it all seam sealed. I'm gonna give that a little bit to set up. Now I went and got some acetone. I wiped off anything that was excessive along them edges, because in case he wants to take these sides off or whatever, and I think he puts a sander on it, that it doesn't permanently bond to the platform, the bottom itself, the floor. I don't know why I couldn't come up with that word, but yeah, that stuff works really, really well. I'm also using, it's my preference, I love this Rust-Oleum Rusty Metal Primer. Works excellent. And you know, if you want to prime over your wells, which I kind of do all the time. Well, most of the time I do. So it's the Rust-Oleum. Then again, not a sponsor, but used on heavy metal and rusted metal. So I just primed over on the back side all the wells that I'd seen. As you can see, I got great penetration on the floor. You can see where all them black marks are. That was penetration for all the supports and whatnot. Alright, let's get these sides bolted up and take a look at how it looks. Now, a little tricky on the tailgate. And I actually, when I drilled the holes on the head of backwards, these actually two tie downs. I don't know how you can see them. There's 4 altogether. Well, they're backwards, and I talked to him. He says, not a big deal. He doesn't use them often. So, but I could have cut them off and flipped them. And you got to loosen these brackets over here on the ends. I had to drill these out in order to get the tailgate on and off. But I'll show you that, guys, once I put it on. Alright, let's bolt it up and see what she looks like. Alright, I find my wrench here, using 3/8 bolts. Now, I don't know if I can get you guys down low enough, but I'll show you what I mean about I had to get a short bolt because here's the hinge for the tailgate, and you slide the tailgate on this end and leave that end loose over there. Then once you get it into this end, you bolt it all up and tighten it up. That took me, I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on until I got under there and looked. Alright, so finished bolting this all, as I was saying earlier, how I sleeved them, and you can see how that is, nice and straight on both sides. I got a little bit more welding to do on here. I was thinking about capping them. I don't know yet. We'll see. But, yep. I'll finish bolting this up. And see how everything lines up. No nut on that one yet. Here we go. Alright, let's get the tailgate on. I already know that was gonna happen. Okay. Huh, what do I do with the bolt for that? Okay, half inch, half inch wrench. I need the little stubby guy. Where is he? Yep, all right. I'm putting this all back together only to take it all apart because it's going to be too heavy to lift. I did notice that this side's a little bit loose. Okay. Well, that looks a little bit tight, but I don't know if it's supposed to be. Oh, there we go. All right. The only thing I didn't bolt is this corner here. I'm gonna find a little bolt for it. But our lines all look good. I'll take you over here and show you. Everything seems to be lining up pretty good. This is actually going to go over once it's tight in there. We got good gaps there. We got good gaps there. I know this thing's bowed. And actually you can see this one's bowed a little bit. I had to pull this in because this had a big curve in it. And I actually put a piece of this tubing up in here underneath. I don't know if I can show you, but I tucked it up sorry about that, up underneath this corner to try to get this thing straight. But that was bent from the get-go. And I had to put I welded this washer here and I ran to come along to over here and just to pull that thing and get it straight in order to get that tubing in there. But all in all, everything fits, looks nice and square. I'm going to measure corner to corner. Keep my fingers crossed. That's the only way you're going to tell if it's square, right folks? Well, that's what they say anyway. Get my tape measure out. It's going to be a little bit hard. Well, maybe I can push this thing. Yeah, we'll do that. Love these self-centering tape measures. Alright, from corner to corner over to here. 72.5. Alright, this one's going to be a little bit harder. With that in the way, I believe. No, maybe not. Make sure I get right on the corner. 72.5. How about that? So yep, we're all squared. You can see now a little bit better how I welded everything in over there. Over this. And I'm debating if I get enough tubing, maybe I'll slide some down in there. I don't know what it can't hurt, right? And now I'm gonna blow this thing all apart again. Give him a call. Tell him to come pick it up and try putting it on. If it doesn't line up, I'll have to take it right up there and, like I said, move them 2 hinge points on it.
3 days later.
Alright, first of all, I forgot to turn the microphones on for this part of the video. So I apologize. Be patient. This is my first time doing a voiceover. Alright, that's Rob and his nephew bringing the dump bed in now. Second of all, I want to give a shout out to Rob Greenway for asking me to do this project for him and having the confidence in me to get it done. Thanks, Rob. Alright, let's throw this thing up there and see how it's going to fit. Alright, so we got it up there. Let's take a walk over on the other side. Take a look. Alright, so with the hydraulic piston mounts, perfect. Same thing down here. I don't have to make any adjustments to the 2 hinges down here. I'll weld them in permanently along with that other support. Now, I didn't get any pictures with the sides on the dump bed while it was on the side-by-side, but Rob sent me a couple pictures with the sander on it, and I'll link them at the back. All right, everybody, I appreciate you all watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.